Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the B3 podcast, Barbells, Burgers and Bitchin'. I wondered what it was called then. I hesitated for a second. This episode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to do a Q&A based off what you guys have put in the box that we put on our Instagram story earlier in the week. So these are obviously going to be shortened down questions. Shortened down? That's not the right word. Shortlisted questions that you guys have asked that we think are going to be pretty good in terms of covering a wide base. So a big mix of nutrition and training related questions. Yeah. Shall we get started? Anything else you want to add before we jump straight into it?
Well, there's lots to talk about. We could speak about your recent ethics thing, but that could be for another day.
God, no. Yeah, leave the people.
Recap.
I feel like I've done nothing but yap on about that ethics game.
You've got to milk it all for what it's worth. You did something different.
This is true. I literally lost my soul on that day, so I'm going to milk it. But we are going to be covering topics such as pre-workout, nutrition, common misconceptions about diet, do we think gyms are taking advantage of PTs, what we think about functional training, sport-specific training, and how to decide whether you should be training when you're ill. So that is going to be very apparent for this time of year because the flu is rife and the C-bomb seems to be back out in full force. So do you get filtered for that? Using that word? I don't even want to say it.
No. Why would you?
I just feel, I'm sure there's some content.
Doing that? There's worse words that we could say that would definitely get censored for.
No. The
Yeah, no, I'm saying if that gets censored, there's things I could say that are a lot worse that would get me.
Yeah, there are, but I'm sure there's I don't know, the government have been weird. Anywho, enough of that.
They're spying on our podcast. If we say
you were schmovid.
Rhymes with splovid. We're going to get cancelled.
I don't know. I should look into that. What language is censored and not.
Just say it. We'll find out.
Get cancelled before we've even made it off the fucking ground. That would be great, wouldn't it?
I mean, we've said so much worse already.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway,
surely you can say fuck.
Yeah, but it's not political, is it?
If I use it in a political sentence.
No, okay. Anyway, moving on. Number 1, common misconceptions about diet. Now, when someone asked me this, I thought, how am I supposed to answer that? That is very, very broad.
That's the point.
That was the point.
When we asked them, they were like, oh.
Yeah, they were like, I wanted it to be vague because I just wanted to see where you were going to take it.
How you interpret it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, cool, okay, I like that. I could yap on about this for hours. This could be a whole damn episode in itself. But obviously with this being a Q&A, it's designed to be a little bit shorter. So I've broken it down into 3 main areas that I think are going to cover all grounds. The first 2 points are a little bit contradicting, so bear with me. But the first answer that came to mind with understanding common misconceptions about diet is people overcomplicate it. So there are a lot of, we know there's loads of fad diets out there. There's loads of influencers making out like some or certain diets are superior to others, whether that be keto, the carnivore diet. You'll see like paleo, all of the, and then you've got all of obviously like Slimming World, Weight Watchers, Juice Plus, like all of that bullshit. And people make out like one specific diet is superior to another because of XYZ, when in reality, if your diet is supposed to be tailored towards something like fat loss, then the main fundamental thing you need to be achieving is a calorie deficit. All of these diets will work providing they achieve a calorie deficit. So, for example, people may find that they lose weight when they're following the carnivore diet because they completely cut out refined foods, they cut out carbohydrates, and naturally they tend to find that they are in a calorie deficit because of that. Likewise, they're also eating high protein. I'm not going to say they're eating high fiber because even though they still include some fruits, it's very limited on the plant base, depending on how strict you are with it. So, either way, cutting out a food group is going to inevitably create a calorie deficit. The same with keto, you're cutting out carbs there, again, helps you create a calorie deficit. You go paleo, 9 times out of 10, you're cutting out processed foods, ultra-processed foods, which are really hyper-palatable, easy to overconsume. Same if, you're looking to build muscle, put on weight, people make out like you have to be eating certain types of meals or you have to be eating things like shit tons of like a cream of rice and all of these types of foods that you see bodybuilders eat. And yes, obviously they help because you can easily make foods like that more calorie dense and easier to get in more calories, but ultimately you just need to be in a slight calorie surplus to support muscle growth. Again, it doesn't need to be dramatic. Like, stick with the basics. Make sure you're having enough protein, carbs, and fats, making sure you're getting adequate fiber for the amount of calories you're eating, and making sure that it's nice and colourful, to make sure that you're ticking the boxes from a micronutrient perspective. Obviously, I'm not saying diet is simple, because it's not, but when you're getting started, you definitely don't need to be going into all the nooks and crannies to perfect it in order for it to be effective. Now, the second point I mentioned, which is the contradicting point, is that people also oversimplify it. Now, the reason I say this is because I mean this more from a psychological perspective and more in the context of fat loss and dieting. So, look, I just want to clarify, like, diet and dieting aren't the same thing. Like, your diet is a word that we use to describe your eating habits and all of that as a whole. Dieting is typically used when people are like working towards fat loss. The two things are kind of like overlapped and a little bit of a pet peeve. Anyway, oversimplifying it, because people, when it comes to things like fat loss, are like, oh, you just need to eat less. You just need to be in a calorie deficit. And you might think, yeah, Hannah, you've literally just said that's the only thing that matters. And I'm like, well, yes, to achieve fat loss, all you do need to be in is calorie deficit. However, in order to achieve that calorie deficit, it might be very difficult from one person to another, dependent on their, relationship with food, dependent on their circumstances, dependent on their responsibilities and their current lifestyle. It's not always as straightforward as just eat less or move more. You've got to look at people's like relationship with food, with their diet history. Have they been chronically dieting and failing for a very long period of time? Do they have kids they need to be looking after? Are they working super long, exhausting, like tiring shifts at work? Because all of these things have a knock-on effect to your nutritional habits and your choices, ultimately making dieting a lot harder than maybe what Sandra down the road, who's retired, kids have moved out, got no responsibilities, she has a lot more time and capacity to be able to give to something like that. So making sure that you're not oversimplifying it at your own detriment is something to be aware of as well. But again, I feel like that's something I could probably yap on about for hours, so I'll leave it there. The third part to this answer I wanted to talk about was, everyone always seems to think when you're working on your nutrition, you either have to be dieting or you have to be bulking, i.e. like stripping off fat or building on loads of muscle. And that is just not the case. I think there is a lot to be said for people just improving fundamental dietary habits and also working at a maintenance level, just to make sure you're building that healthy relationship with food and you're making sure that you're eating enough of the right stuff consistently. You don't have to be chasing one major goal or like one end of the spectrum. You can be making incredible gains, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, when you're just focusing on eating at a maintenance level and perfecting those dietary habits that are going to be able to make dieting or bulking much easier and much more successful. I think that's probably enough I want to say on that one. Any thoughts? Any comments?
Yes.
Nutrition isn't really Alex's realm, so he doesn't like to comment too much on that.
I've also never given any, like, I'm not qualified, so I'm staying in my lane.
That's fine.
I can say my experiences, whereas you can actually...
Did I say anything there that was surprising for you?
No, that all makes sense.
To be fair, you probably hear me yap on about it enough anyway.
Yeah, but then that overlaps to training as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like those same points can be applied to that. It's obviously just a different lens, but yeah. No, I agree. I agree with all that.
Okay, moving on to question 2.
Yes.
This was actually asked by multiple people, so we've condensed it into one.
Yes.
We were asked about what was our favourite pre-workout food, and someone even specified not bagels, Hannah. And I was low-key offended by that, because if anyone knows me, hashtag a bagel a day, that's my motto. But it's okay. I won't take it personally, and I will go into detail about what makes up a very good pre-workout meal. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to...
Yes, because I'm just going to be shamed.
No, we don't do food shaming around here. Okay, so pre-workout food. The things you want to be... In fact, you know what? If anyone's listening to this and thinking, I would love to know how to nail my pre-workout nutrition, I have a guide that I literally give out for free. It's not a plug. Like, it's genuinely... I talk about this all the time because it seems to be a question that everybody asks.
Is that the shameless plug of the episode?
No, it's not even that. Ask me for it.
We get one.
DM me pre-workout and I will literally send it you because I'll give you all of this information that you can just rely on. It was one of these things that I just kept getting asked and I was like, you know what? Clients find it handy. Everyone seems to find this handy. Let me just whack it in a guide and you've got it there. But the reason is because I won't go into as much detail as that has on it and I don't want to do that or do this answer an injustice. But pre-workout food, keep it nice and simple. And I mean that literally from a food choice sense. So you don't want to be having foods that you're not familiar with. You want to be having foods that are easily digestible. And you want to be taking into consideration what your exercise is that you're about to do, how long you've got to digest before you go and obviously do it. And then obviously how long it's going to be. So what you eat before a yoga session might be very different before what you eat before a long run, or what you do before, what you eat before maybe like a mobility or, I don't know, accessory session might be very different to what you have for a max effort SPD session. Obviously, the amount of time goes without saying. If you don't have a lot of time, maybe you only have 30 minutes, you want to be looking at having something that's super easy to digest, like carbohydrates, but simple. So that might be something like rice cakes and honey, or jam, something like that. Would be a bagel, but I was told to shut the fuck up with that.
I think we do with and without, because the other person that asked didn't specify that you couldn't do it without bagels. But I think to make the other person happy, we need to make sure we include a bagel lasanza.
A bagel lasanza. Okay, so your bagel lasanza is rice cakes. Not joking. You can have obviously like bagels, honey, jam. Bananas are great. I love bananas because they also are a great source of potassium, so you're getting your electrolytes in there as well. Things like, this is where you can utilize things like UPFs, ultra processed foods, which I've been talking.
That's bad, Hannah. You can't talk about that. What was her name? Tracy.
Oh, fuck Tracy.
She'll
fuck Tracy.
She'll you down.
Oh, if anyone doesn't know who Tracy is, please go onto my page and just go and look at the rants I've given about this Tracy bitch. Honestly, I've never been so triggered in all my life.
Get in the gym, Tracy.
Jokes. I'm not joking. She deserves that. She was an absolute bitch.
She contradicted herself in the argument.
Yeah, maybe that's a separate episode. UPFs we can talk about in detail, because that is something that people just keep getting wrong. With our world-famous
Channel 4 featuring Hannah.
Someone actually asked me about that, on the YouTube channel.
You look familiar. Can I have your autograph? Where have I seen you from?
No, that person who was called Ratatouille. I don't know who that is.
What a name.
But they were like, oh my God, please go and talk about the Channel 4 debut.
The people want it. I told you. I said
I don't know who the people are, but the people apparently want it.
I said this on the intro app.
Yeah, I know you did. Well, that's what they replied to. Anyway, I digress. This is where your ultra-processed foods are going to be coming in handy. So things like your Squares bars, things like sweets, gels, energy chews, anything like that that's going to be something that you can consume. It sits easily on your stomach and it just gives you that boost of energy. Is going to be perfect for pre-workout. If you've got a little bit more time, so maybe you've got something like 2 to 3 hours, this is where you can be making sure that your meal is substantial and you've got a moderate amount of protein in there and you've got some slow-release carbs as well, because obviously you've got more time to digest it, so you can get away with that. So things like rice, potatoes are fantastic. Also, combining the two can really help you make the most of that carb absorption. Things like, chicken breast, lean beef, fish, all lean, easy sources to digest a protein. Keep fiber and fats sort of low. You don't want to be risking that slowing down digestion. Yeah, ironic actually. I'll say why we're laughing in a minute.
Why? I was just laughing at the thought of someone just shitting themselves mid-workout.
This is why I don't understand your pre-workout meal.
I don't understand it either. Autism.
For reference, Alex has beans on toast before every training session.
I was going to get shamed for that.
You're not getting shamed for it. I just don't understand how you don't want to shit yourself every session.
It digests really well.
How long do you give yourself actually to digest?
An hour.
I just don't think I could do that in an hour.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I haven't shit myself yet. I've come close, but I haven't shit myself.
This is what makes me think, though, every time you come to do a heavy squat or a deadlift session, you're always like, I might shit myself on the session.
Oh, that's just mainly just exertion.
Yeah, but I just feel like if you didn't have it there to shit, like the fear wouldn't be there if you.
I'm not scared. I've got a mop and bucket in the garage, and it's matting, so it's easy to clean up if I shit myself. If I get a PR, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but my point is, you wouldn't have to fear of shitting yourself if you ate the right food.
Anyway, a lot of the time it's all bark and no bite. Anyway,
that's still not the point.
It is. It's just noise.
No. My point is like we don't want you to be
at the top of many reps. I was on like deadlift mats and like,
You're missing the point.
Why? Because it just digests really well.
Okay.
I don't feel.
Maybe you trained it. Maybe you've trained your bowels to tolerate it.
But it's also
which
safe.
is also something.
But it's also safe food.
Mentally, he means by that,
Yeah.
which is also fair.
We do a whole. People enjoyed the whole neurodiversity and
That's a great
food. We could do an
topic.
episode on
That's
that
a
as
great
well.
topic that would require a lot more detail and context. But
There you
yes,
go. I'll be your guinea pig.
I'm sidetracking again. Oh, actually, no. To be fair,
No, it's linked.
Fats and fibers low, protein moderate, carbs moderate to high, and obviously adjust the portion sizes depending on how much time you've got to digest.
Yeah.
Does that answer everything? Do you think? In regards to that?
You're the nutrition person.
I think that covers it. And then, of course, make sure you're covering fluids and electrolytes, especially if you're going to be doing a sweaty
So
workout.
basically what Hannah's saying is smash a can of White Monster, eat some squares, but...
And grow up and smash a bagel.
No, can't do that. Well, how's it without? Maybe it's just because it's something different.
Maybe she just doesn't like bagels. Maybe she's sick of them, which is also fair. I don't know how you can be.
Don't know how you can be. Bagels are God to you.
Yeah. Oats are always a great meal as well if you've got more time to digest. You don't like oats, but I fucking love oats. Oats are goat.
I'm a grogget bitch.
He means Greek yogurt for people that don't know, isn't it?
I smushed the word together.
Should we move on to question 3? This one's a bit more for you, I think.
All these questions are just going to trigger me, so I'm going to crash out.
Go on, take question 3. The mic is yours.
Okay, so, I mean, you haven't worked in gyms, but you could still give your take because you're still in the industry, so you could see how it. So you could, but I'll do the majority of it. So, question 3 is: do you think that gyms take advantage of PTs?
Naming no names.
Can I not?
No, because we don't want to get sued.
They're a very common chain up and down the country.
No, we don't even need to go into that much detail. Just say in general, do you think gyms take it, or how?
Yes and no. So context. So I think commercial gyms, like your leisure centres or your specific gym that is everywhere up and down the country. One, I think they are managed because it's a leisure centre gym or a chain, especially leisure centres. It's potentially people at the helm that aren't gym savvy or aware. So from an operational, so from like an operational standpoint, I don't necessarily think they know the best way of doing it. It's more basically what what do you call it? The command centers say, and then it's just that you have to do that and you can't question it. So what I mean by that is I think the rent is stupidly high for people. There is no it's a flat rate. So like you could go to some of these gyms, and some of these gyms are charging like 600 to 700 a month for
I
some.
think
some
people
PTs.
don't realise that when PTs are working out of gyms, they are having to pay £600 to £700 a month.
Not all gyms.
Average.
I mean, there's some where it's been like between 300 and 400, I think, and then on the extreme ends, it's getting like 600 or 700. But they'll use whatever they. I don't know how they justify it. Whether they say it's the
cheap gyms though that charge more for rent, which is what.
But what I didn't realise is that gym that I can't say that is up and down the country, and a lot of students will use it in cities and stuff because it tends to be cheaper. It also has gym in the name, but I haven't said the first word.
Just keeps.
Yeah, but I didn't realise they change depending on the area.
The cost.
Yeah,
I know.
So you could have a smaller gym in a.
Utox is more expensive than Liverpool, for example.
And Stoke.
Yeah, because it's a better off area.
Yeah, so again, that's what I mean by fucking retarded, right? It's also so like because of that, because it's a flat rate and there is no kind of like if you're like a PT that's just starting out and you're like, oh, I want to be self-employed, I want to go and work out of one of these gyms, it takes a while to like get your name out there, to build up a client base and all that kind of stuff. Like 600, 700 quid could be the majority of your income in the first couple of months. And it's like, how is that a sustainable thing? It's just taking the piss. Whereas when I have worked at a few, you PT'd out of a few like privately owned gyms, because you're dealing with the owner. Like when you go and speak to the boss, you're speaking to the boss. You're not speaking to the gym manager who has to talk to the area manager, who has to talk to the regional manager, who has to talk to the whatever the fuck. They scale it. So like in my experience, I've been there like, okay, cool. You need to the area, you need to get your name out. Why don't we start at X amount? And it was reasonable. And it's like, well, as you grow, we'll keep on having chats every month or every other month. And we'll aim to try and get to this number, which again was a lot more reasonable than the other ones. But they kind of scale it with how you're performing rather than just saying, all right, mate, 700 quid from day one. And it's just like, they've got no fucking idea. Like I've worked out of a leisure centre gym when they were like, that was their flat rate was between 300 and 400. And they would constantly advertise about wanting self-employed PTs there, and there would be not one. not one PT. The whole time I worked there was not one PT that was self-employed that came in, and they kept on doing campaigns and they kept on doing pushes. And it's like, why do you think you're not getting them? It's because it's fucking unreasonable, especially for people starting out. Why don't you, like, if you did it on like a case by case where it was, if they're new, they start on X and build it up, or if they already have a base, but whatever you do it slightly higher. So it's a case by case, and you take into account the individual rather than just making it a flat rate. But yeah, I think the privately run gyms, the smaller privately run gyms, are a lot better at that because you're actually dealing with the person, and 9 times out of 10, they've been where you are, so they understand your circumstances and the fact that it takes time to build it up.
I think that sums it up.
Fuck those gyms. Not the good ones, the bad ones, the ones that rhyme with.
Shush!
Okay.
No, we're leaving it there. Okay, so question
Thoughts?
4.
No,
oh,
you can. I
I
don't
think I have anything other than that. The
Do you
only
agree,
other.
do you agree with all that?
Yeah, no, I think.
It's just good to see your opinion. I know, like with how the nutrition ones, it's
No,
like
I
if
think
you.
the cost. No, because PTing is something that I considered to do, but I just thought, you know what, it's not. You can see why so many PTs come off the gym floor nowadays and try to build their business online, because it's so much
Oh, sorry, I just
easier
thought
to
of a point, I
grow
forgot.
and scale your business, because you are seriously capped when you're a PT. Like, you're capped by time, and once you've capped out with time, that's when you're going to then have to increase your prices, because you've only got so many hours in the day that you can be delivering PT sessions, right?
Yes.
So if you're going to be having to continuously pay this rent or whatever, then, no doubt that will go up as like natural inflation increases, like cost of living increases, like prices will need to increase. So then you'll just need to continuously keep increasing. And then it'll get to a point where people just can't pay whatever your hourly rate is anymore. And it's not necessarily anything to do with the value you have to offer, but it's just unreasonable. And then it kind of makes personalized fitness inaccessible to people. And that's what's annoying.
But the thing is, with a lot of these gyms as well, like the leisure centres and the gym that I can't say because Hannah will beat me.
No, it's not. They'll beat us.
they're already making what they need to make from memberships and just people coming
Yeah.
through the door, right? So, like, in their mind, if they wanted a bit more money, make the PT prices more reasonable, so you're actually getting PTs coming in wanting to pay that rent. It's like, if their argument is they want just some passive income to cover the rent of the building or whatever, why wouldn't you just knock it down to something where it's obviously a reasonable thing, so you're still getting people in, you're increasing what the services that you can offer as that gym, and you're also still getting a bit. If you just make it fucking extortionate, what are you going to get? Fuck all.
Yeah, exactly.
And you also get a bad name, which is why I fucking hate them.
Yeah, because the thing is,
I also make memes about them, so check out
Stop it! You're giving too much now.
I'm not saying the
You
name.
are. You're giving too much.
This is an unfiltered podcast. Fuck them.
It's difference between unfiltered and giving like grounds to sue.
And actually,
yeah, we are, until we're big and famous, and then we get sued because of that.
Fucking come at me, bro.
Okay. Anyway,
No, I'm just being a dick.
no. The other annoying thing about that is that not only are they charging staff an extortionate amount to just exist and work out of there, but they don't necessarily support them in return. So they make out like, oh yeah, we give you XYZ to help you scale your business, and all of this business support to help you learn how to, grow and scale.
Lol.
They don't know their ass from their elbow, and it's that's frustrating, because it's one thing charging that amount, but then offering to give that service to be like, look, we're going to help you make enough so that money isn't even a big deal.
Yeah.
But then not only do they fail to do that, they don't compensate in the money. So it's like, hi, yeah, we lure you into this full sense of security that you're going to be able to afford this sustainably. And wait, hang on, what's the average lifetime of a PT? Is it like 9 months? I think the average life expectancy of a PT is 9 months. I think that's
So basically, when every baby is born, a PT has died.
Yep. Not literally, I mean as a job, but yeah.
Maybe.
No, honestly, no, I think that, I'm sure, because Dan and I were talking about it ages ago, and do you wonder why? Do you wonder why, when that is what they come into, and it's like, oh yeah, it's cool, we'll get you a job after, but you'll only last in it for 9 months. Fucking great.
And also, those gyms, like the one I can't say, will try and rinse you for doing a lot of stuff for them not potentially being paid.
Yeah.
Or they work. They're
just very, very particular.
Yeah, and it's like, come and do a load of this stuff for us and work the floor, and then we'll ask you to pay an extortionate fee. And also, all that stuff we said about like business support and stuff is utter dog shit. So you're getting fuck all for getting rinsed. And because you are in that position where potentially there's no gyms around, or like if you're in a small area, you haven't got enough choice, or you haven't got that choice. It's rock and a hard place, isn't it? What do you do?
Okay, I think we've talked enough about that one. Question number 4. Another one for Alex to rant about. What do you think of functional training for sports?
I think the word functional, anyone that uses the word functional should be shot in the face. Um, yeah, it's a bullshit marketing term. My first thing is like, what does functional mean? Like, oh yes, functional movement patterns. It's like, right. What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Is the
A
deadlift
a
functional?
squat is used in everyday life. A deadlift is used in everyday life. You pick stuff off the floor. Yeah, but it's not. What makes it functional? Just get fucking stronger, you morons. It's just a little. It's like, I don't know, power building. You know, how powerlifting, but power, do some heavy strength stuff and then bodybuilding. Yeah, well done. That is what powerlifting training is. You fucking idiot. You do some strength work with some accessories. Oh, look, it's a little marketing term. Anyway, in the relation of doing it for sport, again, marketing thing, keep your sport separate from your strength and your weight training, right? Your sport is when you practice and you play. Your S&C is when you trying to get those skills or components better, and keep it fucking basic as well. If you're trying to get better at rugby and your squats, you're making your leg strength go up with squats and you're getting your pressing up and everything. It's like my brother's a rugby player, and what do? He bench 150. So he's pressing that, like he's training that movement pattern. Would you want to take a hand off to the face from someone that can bench 150? I wouldn't want to take that. So just like all the S&C should be doing, making them stronger, developing the skills that sport needs, making them well-rounded. Again, like with powerlifting, it's very, up and down. There's no side to side. Whereas in a sport, you're going to be training multiple different planes of movement. So in your accessory work, just make sure you're training some stuff laterally as well, so that when you actually do go in those positions, your adductors don't fucking tear off the bone. But it's so simple. But again, a lot of it is just bullshit marketing stuff. And a lot of people, especially S&C coaches, again, flashy for Instagram, will try and make the weights look like the sport. So it's like, I don't know, I can't think of anything. Like doing a golf swing on a cable thing. And it's like, okay, how much does your golf club weigh? How much does the stack on the weight that you're swinging weigh? Okay, cool. So you train. So when you go to do the golf swing with the club that isn't as heavy, it's going to feel totally different when you're trying to shift that amount of weight. So how is it going to transfer? Or what you could do is, get stronger and train rotation as a pattern specifically with exercises, because that's what the sport of golf needs. Right? So if you make your rotation stronger, when you go to hit the club, you've strengthened those muscles and made that pattern stronger, so you're going to be able to hit it further and not fall apart. It fucking does my head in, the whole functional thing.
Yeah, I think people one need to define like what does functional mean, because really anything could be functional
Yeah,
dependent on the context.
yeah. It's
Um,
bullshit.
I think people often associate functional though with like the hierarchy type stuff, so like your ski ergs, like your wall balls. Like you always see that. What is it? Is it in JG gyms where they have like a functional section?
Oh, you mean like, it's usually like a rig, isn't it? So like
Yeah, and
dips
it's
and
usually
pull-ups.
and it's a little bit CrossFitty. It's a
Yeah.
little bit,
Body
and
weight.
it's like cool. That's sure functional for what though? Like why is that any more or less functional than a squat, bench, deadlift? Like it's
But it's even the same with, like, you look at people saying like machines aren't functional. It's like they're making muscles stronger.
mm,
Do you need strong muscles in everyday life?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why is a machine not as functional as a free weight something?
Hmm.
Why is a machine curl not as functional as a free weight curl?
Yeah.
You're still making your muscles stronger. Well, when I need to do stuff in everyday life, as they try and say, that uses my bicep, if my bicep is stronger, it's functional.
Hmm.
So it doesn't mean anything, it's just it's a buzzword like power building or whatever the fuck. It's just the next trendy thing, and
Yeah.
it'll fucking die, and then something. Well, it hasn't died, has it? And then and then something else will come and take its place, like this cycle of stuff does. You
And
know
I
how like
think in the
stretching becomes popular, and then it doesn't, and then it does, and then it doesn't, and it fucking goes around in circles again.
Yeah, in the context of sports as well, I think people just need to remember that your strength training should be supplementing the sport and
Yeah.
filling in the gaps that your sport doesn't cover, because that's how you get imbalances. That's how you then get injured. That's how you then develop, weaknesses. And that will always flag up at some point, whether that flags up in your sport or whether it flags up in day to day life, or whether you start getting pains and niggles because you realize actually your sport is so heavy on one thing, it naturally creates an imbalance on the other. Your strength and conditioning training should be supplementing that, so you don't it should be bridging the gap so you don't have that, or at least it delays the onset of that.
But it's the same with like powerlifting, right? Even though like it's easier to train for powerlifting for us in terms of like programming and stuff, because the sport is lifting weights. It's not like we're lifting weights and then doing a separate thing. But even in good powerlifting programming, you should be plugging the gap. So even though like powerlifting is a lot of up and down, you don't do much lateral stuff. If you want to be well rounded,
Oh, yeah.
throw some lateral stuff in because
Like, do some rotational stuff,
yeah,
like,
do
do
some
yeah.
rotation. Plug in the gaps that that thing isn't doing because if you neglect, if you don't use it, you lose it. And then okay, fine, there's no ramifications now. But what happens if you misgroove your squat slightly and you go slightly laterally left or right? If you've never trained in those planes, you
Yeah.
get something bad's gonna happen.
It's like overhead how many powerlifters do you see who can't get their arms overhead?
I
And it's
wonder
because
why.
they don't do any overhead work because they think, "Oh, well, I just need to get strong at pressing, horizontally." And it's
And
like,
even
well,
their rowing movements look like that. They don't do
yeah,
it. There's no
there's no
overhead back. It's
variation.
like even if you don't want to do any overhead pressing, if you're doing some kind of back movement where your hands are overhead and pulling down, you're still training your shoulders in that plane. It's still going to fill in.
Yeah, so this is where your accessory choice is coming from, though. Like, dependent on what it is your goals are and what you're focusing on, like, your accessories are supposed to supplement that.
Oh, I say this all
But
the time when I
yeah.
post. It's like you shouldn't just be putting something in for no reason. It should have a purpose. And again, just to reiterate with the whole sport thing, if you're a rugby player, for example, you want to get better, that you play the rugby and you do the rugby drills like you're practicing your scrumming, passing, tackling, that's on the pitch. Do not make the weight training try to copy that shit. In the weight room, it's what do we need? We need to be stronger. What else do we need? We need some muscle because if you're more padded out, you're not going to get fucking hurt when someone tackles you and you can kill someone.
I was thinking about the cheerleader, like, what do we need? Duh. When do we
And
need
then
it?
it's also,
Now.
like how I'm saying, doing all the other stuff to plug in the gaps that the rugby neglects. If you know that it's so heavy on one thing, you're probably going to be missing out on the other thing. The more well-rounded you are in general, the less likely you are to get hurt.
Yeah,
It mitigates all that shit.
exactly.
So if you see anyone that says functional, drop kick them in the face.
Or just respect that they might have been brainwashed by
Drop
the
kick them in the face.
marketing ploys of the fitness world.
Drop kick them in the face.
Final question of this episode.
Q&A.
How do you decide when you should or shouldn't train if you're ill?
No pain, no gain, bro. Train whatever the weather. Ugh.
So that's Alex's take.
No, it's not. I'm just...
Go on, give your take.
You want to give my take?
How do you decide when you should train or shouldn't train?
Preface, do as I say, not as I do. I have trained through sinus infections and all that kind of shit because I'm an idiot and I like training. Should I have trained on some of those times? Probably not, but I'm stubborn and I'm an idiot. Obviously, like, Hannah's probably going to give you the very detailed sciencey, this is what you should actually do, so I'm going to give you the meathead.
No, I'll give you the honest. I'll give you.
I mean,
I'll give you both.
if you're shitting your brains out, probably don't go and train, right? If you've got a bit of a head cold and you still you're feeling a bit rubbish, but you're not feeling like you're dying, I'd still go and do it. That's kind of what I go by.
What would it take for you to not train?
Oh, I would have to be like bedridden.
Okay.
But the other advantage I have as well is that I've got a gym at home, so I can kind of be a bit more selfish in the respect that I don't have to think about other people. Because the other thing I used to fucking hate when I worked in actual gyms is that people be coming in like, and they've got like Black Death. And they'd be like, come in for a session like, yeah, I feel terrible. I've got the chills. I haven't been out of bed for 2 days. Like, what the fuck are you doing here then? You're going to cough all over me and get me ill. You shit house.
Yeah, that's true. That is the one perk of
So be
having an
thoughtful.
at-home gym.
Be thoughtful as well. It's not just about you. It's about everyone else. Because
Mhm.
you don't want to be passing your...
I feel like the pandemic should have highlighted that to people, though.
There are so... Well, do you want to get political? Because there's so many things that the fucking pandemic could have
Yeah, no, we're
highlighted.
not going down that road, but like of highlighting, look, just because you might feel okay to do certain things, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you should go out and do stuff because you're
Yeah.
going to risk infecting other people. Now, I know that's hard to say because there'll be some people that are like, oh, I've just got a bit of a sniffle. It's not that deep. People will be fine if they catch it. It's very common. Honestly, yeah, like people will be fine with that sort of thing. But if you've got like a known virus or, if you've got something that's genuinely made you really poorly,
Yeah.
don't go spreading that.
Be considerate, man.
Yeah,
Be
please
considerate.
don't. From, us kindly. However, I'll give you what I recommend my clients and then I'll give you what I do. They are the same. No, they are, because I'm not going to be unrealistic when I'm giving they are. Right, okay. When
Call you out.
you should or shouldn't train if you're ill. So we know that training in pretty much any sort of variation will give you, or it creates an immunosuppressant effect. So obviously when you're poorly, the main thing you want to be focusing on is recovery and getting better faster. Obviously then the quicker you're at 100%, the better you can give to your training sessions, and obviously the more you're going to get out of it, yada, yada, yada. if you're training, you are then risking delaying that recovery process because you are putting that excess stress on your body that your body can't recover from, or is blunting that immunosuppressant effect. Sorry, is creating that immunosuppressant effect. I will always tell my clients if they've got room in the week. So say, I don't know, say if it's a common cold and they're really not feeling good, because I say common cold, that's not anything blasé. Like sometimes you can feel really shit with a cold. It can be all affect your breathing, it can affect your heart rate. So depending on what the session is, I'll always say like, look, have you got room to reschedule? Like, can you go and delay this in the week? Can you do it a different day? If so, there is no need to push yourself. Like, absolutely prioritize recovery. If it's a case that they have no room in the day, this is their only chance to get this session in, they actually mentally feel fine. They just are maybe are a bit like sinusy or a bit groggy, not feeling 100%, but like they're okay to continue about their life. Like they're going to go to work, they're going to go about doing their normal jobs. Then I will say, yes, go, but set your expectations accordingly. So don't be chasing any PRs. You know, if you've got a super heavy day, then you reduce the weights. Maybe you just don't push for absolute max effort. So you might drop a couple of reps. You might even have to drop the volume overall. So maybe you only go to do 1 to 2 sets of a certain exercise. But the reason I say this is because I will go and do this myself purely on the basis that movement will quite often help me feel better anyway. But also from a mental perspective, I am very dependent on it to function.
Yeah.
Like without sounding dramatic, I really do depend on it from like
But
genuinely a concentration standpoint. Like I'm not as productive at work. I'm not as productive in my personal life. Like I don't get shit done if I'm not training or exercising in some capacity. So when you take that out, and if it is like I'm just dealing with a bit of a head cold, then it really does throw me off. And yeah, you can go for a little walk, and sometimes that is enough. And if that's all I've got the energy to do, then that is fine. But otherwise, you know, you just set your expectations differently and you might just have to adjust the plan. Um, However, if like there was this time earlier in the year, wasn't it, that was it summer? In fact, no, it was just before I competed in nationals for my powerlifting comp. I was really poorly. I think I had a virus. I could barely stay awake longer than an hour. Looking at a screen made my head hurt. Like I would just feel sick. I had a massive fever. Like I obviously didn't train then. I didn't. And I just delayed my sessions and I did what I could when I felt reasonable.
yeah.
And I only trained then because I had Nats. Like if I didn't have that big competition coming up, I would have probably just had the entire week and the rest off because that hit me like a truck. But yeah, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think there's 2 points like you've mentioned I'll touch on. So I think auto-regulation is like a massive one, not just, I mean, we'll talk about illness mainly because it's the question, but in general, like, so auto-regulation is basically just a fancy word for like adjusting or pivoting your training as and when you need to. So you obviously, if you've got a bit of a head cold, like Anna's saying, and you still feel like you can train, but you're not 100%. Obviously, you'll have your plan there, and it might be that you have got to do a certain weight for 90%, 80% RP, whatever. Obviously, go in with that in mind, but as you're warming up, you're like, yeah, this isn't it today. Just adjust, like you say, bring the weight down a bit, bring some reps down a bit, or just pivot. So just you can be sensible in the moment and just go, I'm still moving, I'm still here, I'm still ticking a box, but just being smart, being like, maybe today that new 1 rep max squat probably isn't there. But
Mhm.
if I hit it for 75%, 80% for a few reps just to grease the groove and keep things moving, that's better than doing nothing if you're able to. Um, but then that goes for injury. Like, obviously, I know we're going on illness, but I'll pivot a bit. But that same thing can be applied for injury. You know, if you tweak something or like so many people with injuries think that they go, oh, I'm hurt, don't do anything. It's like,
Yes,
oh,
actually.
just don't train, just rest. It's like rest
That
isn't doing.
is one we're going to talk about in
I'll touch on
detail,
it
the
quick. I'll
injuries.
touch on it
Yeah.
quickly, but like injury is one of those things, right, where you see it all the time, where people's instinct is just to go, no, can't do it. Like, oh, I've tweaked my pec bench, and I just need to take 2 weeks off. All you're doing by resting is detraining yourself, right? Or when actually you can still go in and do something. It's not going to look like what your normal sessions are, but doing something in regards to injury, not illness, is going to help rebuild, right? Because in theory, like you tweak something, you take that time off, all you're doing is detraining. You're decreasing that tissue's capacity to load even more. So when you go back, yes, the pain goes, but as soon as you try to do something again, it's going to go again because you've done nothing to build that tolerance back up. But we will touch on that because I could talk all day about that pivoting thing. And the other thing as well is like because I'm in the same boat as the mental side.
Mhm.
So one of the big reasons why, even if I'm ill, like I have to be on death's door not to do anything, but the main reason I will do is because I need to do something. When I split my finger open way back when, I could do that as a story time. When I split my finger open like 10 years ago, people around me, because I couldn't bend this hand. So even for like doing leg stuff, I couldn't grip a handle, I couldn't grip a bar because the finger would just explode. Because that was my outlet and that was a bit of my release. There was actual comments about how I got more aggressive. I got a shorter fuse. I'd snap at people because I couldn't,
Do what you need to do.
even like walking and stuff didn't scratch that itch
Yeah.
enough. So like the mental side, because like when people saying like, oh, we need to exercise and we need to do something, like we get it. Like of all the
Mhm.
people, we get it. But there's also not being a fucking idiot and pivoting when you need to.
Yeah, so I think it's just understanding, like, you know yourself best. Like, realistically, are you
Yeah.
pushing yourself? Don't push yourself for the sake of ticking a box. It's never that deep. But if you're pushing yourself because you think, I just really need a little bit of an outlet right now to go and get some time out the house, I need some fresh air, or I just need a change of scenery, then maybe go and just do a really light session just to get the blood flowing. Maybe go and do some easy cardio.
Even with
If, you
bands.
know,
It
yeah,
doesn't have
even
to be
do banded
weights. You can just
weight.
because that is going to limit you massively. You're not going to be able to push as hard with bands. Just
Exactly.
do something.
If a big walk isn't going to like scratch that itch, as we said, then just adjust the session
Yeah.
accordingly. Don't, and just manage your expectations, because obviously when you're not well and you're going to continue to train, then your performance isn't going to be the same.
And I think from a mental standpoint with the whole illness, like people get in the head, me included, I think you do as probably well. It's like in the moment when you're ill and you're like, fuck, I can't train for a week. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to regress. It's going to be like, if you zoom out and we're looking, so like not in a week, but years or like many years, as long as that line is trending upwards over a long period of time, you are getting better. And as we know, like it's the fucking hip thing to say, progress isn't linear. Like
Yeah,
your graph over
it's
these
true though.
years will go up and down because life happens. You might get sick for a bit. You might have a little injury. You might have work come up, so you can't dedicate. You can't be consistent. Like stuff's gonna happen, right? So there might be periods of times where you have to the odd week or two here does look a bit shit because of life. But
Hmm.
as long as on the whole
You will bounce back though
that line on
quicker.
the graph,
Yeah.
and also the main thing with this is consistency and momentum. That's what makes progress. If you never give yourself the time to recover from an illness, so instead of potentially just taking that week easier so you can bounce back the next week, by going trying to do what you're doing, you then ill for 3 weeks. Well, that's going to be a lot less beneficial than if you just kind of took it easier for 1 week and then you could get back at it the next week. Cool.
Mm.
Whereas you see these people, don't you, where a cold turns into something for 3 weeks because they just haven't let themselves. It's like, well, not training
Yeah.
properly for a month is going to be a lot more detrimental than not training for a week
Yeah, I
or
think
pivoting.
it's worth
So
asking yourself there. Are you using like a little bit of a sniffle as a real excuse to actually sandbag all of your training, or is there something you can compromise? Because I
yeah.
think you then, like, that's probably the final point we'll touch on this, but
Mhm.
after everything we've said, like, if you are the type of person that will take any excuse to ditch your training, I think that probably lends itself to asking a lot deeper questions. Yeah,
There's
there's
bigger
bigger
issues
issues.
happening.
But also, like, be real with yourself. Be like, look, am I using this as an excuse because I just can't be asked, or I'm not motivated right now? And look, oh, I've got a bit of a sniffle, so that'll be a good enough excuse to not train.
Mm.
Or, yeah, is there something else you need to be addressing? Because if the point right now in your training is to be building a routine and be building consistent habits, then the training isn't that deep. Like, what you do in that training session isn't as dramatic as just making a point of going to move, like just keeping the routine, going to the gym, as we said, doing a banded workout, doing something really light, doing some steady cardio, going for a walk. The point is you keep that routine going to maintain the habit you're trying to build. So again, it's contextual. Like, what is it you're trying to achieve right now? What is the goal? Like, how badly ill are you? And what is it you're wanting to train for? Like, what are the benefits? Like, are they going to outweigh the pros and cons, basically? But yeah, I think that's probably covered everything on that one, is it?
Yeah,
Okay, wrap this up.
yeah.
That was a nice little, not really short podcast.
Well, shorter than the last one.
Shorter than the last one, but we're gonna wrap that up here and call it a night. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah.
We might alternate these if you prefer them, to keep some longer, some shorter, have Q&A styles versus specific topics.
If you do like these as well and you couldn't think of any questions and all of a sudden hearing this is kind of jogged your brain memory,
Thoughts.
brain memory. You can, I didn't realize this because I'm a complete caveman. You can comment on the Spotify, on the podcast
Yeah,
things.
you
You
know
can,
that.
well, I knew that now. I didn't know you could do that before.
We've been relying. We've replied to people.
Yeah, no, but
Oh, you mean before that?
before we started this, I didn't realize you could comment on Spotify. So
Okay, yeah.
there's like many you can comment on that. If you've got some questions that we could use, you can message us on our socials, shameless plug, and then you can also message us on the podcast page on Instagram as well. And we'll always be putting Q&A boxes up. So even if we start alternating this, we will definitely save the questions to be used in episodes like this. So If this has jogged your memory on some questions you want answered or our perspective on,
Drop it in the box below.
please hit us up, because the whole point of this, as we said in the intro, is we want to make sure we are helping you guys as much as possible. And the only way we can do that is if we know what you want to hear and what you want help with. So help us help you.
I hope my brain listened to you say that. I felt like
That
a lot
made
of
sense,
words.
didn't it?
It did make sense. I think it just took me a while to keep up with what you were saying. It's tired.
Anyway.
It's tired. It's late. I'm tired.
It is tired. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank
and
you.
we'll catch you next
week.
week. Peace out.
Au revoir.